served the citizens of Cleveland for over 25 years, not only for the City of Cleveland Division of Police, but also as a member of the City of Cleveland EMS Department. Throughout her tenure as a patrol officer, detective, until her current position as a supervisor for the domestic violence unit, she has assisted in educating personnel as well as myself about the importance of treating all members of society with equality and respect. Her professionalism and insight with this issue has provided members of the LGBT community with not only resources, but also encouraging words to help them become survivors of domestic situations. Sergeant Jones believes that due to the prevalence of this issue, social service, criminal justice, and medical personnel need continued growth in their ability to serve LGBT people who are the victims of domestic violence. Having mainstream agencies as well as communities in the LGBT community provide additional training or particular programs which will enhance the knowledge and existence of domestic violence in the lives of LGBT women. When LGBT survivors do reach out, their needs have at times been dismissed, disregarded, or met with naive responses about LGBT people and their relationships. Sergeant Deirdre Jones has worked diligently in treating members of the LGBT community with dignity and respect. It is my pleasure to introduce to you my friend, Sergeant Deirdre Jones.
Good evening. I just want to say, first of all, you're not an old person. I brought my glasses, and I can't memorize too well, so I sort of wrote something down to say. I do want to say, first of all, it is definitely an honor to be here. I just drove up from a training, supervisor training in Columbus, and when I found out I was going to get the award, and because I'm not enough of a celebrity to accept the award via satellite, I figured I'd just come I've received many accolades in my 23 years in law enforcement, but none have impacted me as much as receiving an award directly from the people in the community that I serve. This nomination came as a surprise, and being selected has truly been an honor for me. Domestic violence knows no boundaries. It crosses race, religion, culture, socioeconomic status, and sexual orientation. It has always been my passion, first as a detective, and now a sergeant in charge of the domestic violence unit, not just to prosecute batterers, but to educate and empower victims to make healthier choices. Even though domestic violence is just as prevalent in LGBT relationships as it is in heterosexual relationships, those victims have very little recourse when it comes to services. While the mechanics of domestic violence in both types of relationships are similar, the circumstances keeping LGBT victims from reporting are sometimes more complicated. Fear of being outed, fear of their batterer exposing their HIV status, fear of not being taken seriously by police, and fear of dual arrest. I am also grateful to Cleveland's Black Pride Committee, who invited me to speak several times about domestic violence and how the silence works against this community. It is because of this exposure that I believe not in an increase of abuse, but an increase in reporting the abuse, because LGBT victims realize that the goal of the dedicated and hardworking detectives in the domestic violence unit is to provide all victims of relationship battery with an avenue that supports equal protection of every member of this community. It is my desire to foster a partnership between the center and the domestic violence unit that will create an atmosphere for members of this community, a community of which I am proud to belong, to know that their calls for help will not be judged, but will be afforded the same respect and dignity as everyone else. Again, thank you very much.